Welcome to Work Savvy, and thank you for joining us for another dose of inspiration and insights on leadership and self-mastery. I'm Karen Gately, the founder of Corporate Dojo, and joining me is my co-host, Madeleine Cook.
Thanks, Karen. So on the show today, we're going to be kicking off talking all about resilience, both in the workplace and in life.
So to help us unpack this topic, we're joined by Katie Patterson. Katie is the director of Katie Patterson HR and a close colleague of the Corporate Dojo team. We're very lucky to often have the opportunity to work with Katie to help our clients to achieve the outcomes that they need.
Katie, welcome back to Work Savvy. Thanks for being here.
Oh, thanks, Maddie, and thanks, Karen, for having me back. It's an absolute treat. So thanks very much.
No problem. So, as I said, we're going to be talking all things resilience today. Why do you think resilience matters?
Look, I think resilience matters because you need to have it as any soft skill or any skill in your toolkit
Yeah,
to um, to to have on hand when something happens, and then you need to get that bit of resilience. So
yeah,
it's a bit like a bank account. So if
yeah,
you've got a little bit, you've got, as I call it, the war chest. If you've got a war chest there, it makes you feel a lot more safe and secure.
yeah,
And if something happens, you can dip into that.
yeah.
And that's really why I think resilience is really important to have as one of your skills.
Yeah. Look, I totally agree. I think the simple truth is life can be unpredictable. It can be challenging at times. Whilst we'd like things to go as planned, that's clearly not always the reality. And as they say, change is one of the common constants in life. So in my mind, resilience is something that allows us to stay the course, that allows us to bounce back. I once read a physics definition of resilience that I actually thought was quite helpful. And as if you think about a ball and like a tennis ball, for example, that's hit, it's the ability for that ball to bounce back to its original shape. So, it's not like we're going to be, hopefully we're not going to actually be hit in the workplace, clearly. But
Hopefully not.
yeah,
No.
but there are those events and circumstances that come along that, do dent us a bit. And it's that recovery rate, that ability to, deal with that challenge or deal with that complexity in the moment, but then get back to a clear headspace, get back to being able to feel that sense of coping. I think there's a lot of overwhelm that happens in the world, where we can find ourselves just really struggling to, keep moving forward through those challenging times.
Absolutely. And I think it's really about finding those tools. And many of the tools in resilience is probably things you already doing on a daily basis and even
Yeah,
enjoying. But it's to make sure that you sort of create that habit to add them into your daily routines or, um, outcomes and those kind of things.
yeah,
So, yeah.
yeah. Well, I think that's a good thing to talk about next, I think, is, so what are some of those daily routines, or how do we actually build resilience? It's great, obviously, to know the definition of it. But I think what's more powerful is how do we actually become more resilient as human beings, do you think?
Look, I think it's identifying and using some of your strengths. It's about adding into that bank account again, putting those credits in when you need, in the event that you need to take out the debits. And it's about doing something. It could be even doing something nice, those random acts of kindness and volunteering in a community, doing something fun. Going out and playing a game of tennis or a game of golf or whatever, or just going for a walk with someone, or even yourself and putting on some really nice music and just walking and doing those things. But having these things, or having something in your in your routine that you do on a daily or weekly basis that actually builds that bank account up.
Yeah.
And it's things, and if it's too hard, you won't do it. So you just do the things that will make you feel and can be easily implemented into your daily life.
Yeah.
And
And I
it's a
think what you're
no-brainer.
Yeah, what you're making me think of there is, something that we often talk about is managing the strength of your spirit. I think if you've got a lot of energy and, do have a strong spirit, then again, when life's challenges come along, we're less likely to be completely knocked off course. We're more likely to be able to yeah, cop that blow or whatever it is, and
Yes.
stay on course. And I think each of the things that you've spoken about there are energizers. Things like spending time with our loved ones, spending time laughing, spending time engaged in our hobbies, but
Mm,
also physical activity. I think is an essential part of maintaining that mental strength, which is, another way of talking about this is that mental capacity to remain objective, remain focused, remain, centered. All of that is helped by that physical strength as well, I think.
I think so too. And the other thing is, at some point, you've got to say sometimes that imposter on your shoulder sometimes gets a little bit niggly, and you've got to say, you know what, I'm going to become friends with you, but back off every now and again.
Yeah,
I don't need to hear your voice.
yeah,
Just back off and be supportive versus the other way.
yeah,
And you know what? Imposter, be kind to me today because you know what? Maybe not such in a good space,
yeah,
and we all have those feelings of inadequacy or overwhelm every now and again,
yeah.
and it's the ability to dip into that bank account and that toolkit to make you go, oh, okay, if I go for a walk or if I just pick up the phone and chat to my nearest and dearest, that'll build a bit more into that bank account again, and
Mm,
then we can move on,
mm,
we can tackle the next thing.
mm. Yeah, that's right. And I think I always feel like we always come back to the same topic in these podcasts. So I apologize to our regular listeners. But, it all comes back to managing our thinking. And, when you talk about those voices, I'll often ask in our workshops that question. We run one workshop in particular called Be Awesome, where this comes up all the time. And, the question I ask is, who has voices in their heads? And you start to see how honest people are in terms of whether or not they're willing to acknowledge that they have those voices. But that internal dialogue is a really powerful influencer, again, of our spirit, but also in terms of how we feel in the moment. So,
Mm,
as you just said, there's moments where those internal voices are saying, this is too much, this is too hard, I can't do this, I'm sick of this. We can focus our attention onto things that are wrong or things that are frustrating. And the reality is that that takes away energy, but it also takes away or undermines resolve. It
mm.
takes away that ability to go, no, it's okay. I can choose a more optimistic perspective or lens through which to look at this particular situation.
And
And
your brain is designed to help get what you want,
yeah,
even in the when things are feeling overwhelmed, and that fog in your brain. We're just talking about the fog in the brain. The fog in the brain is there, but you know what? There are four things that come out um, through that fog, and that is the sound of your name, any threat to safety, and if your partner wants to, have a bit of sex with you, and whatever the brain tells you that's important. So help train your brain during the good times that you are resilient and really energized and to ready to dip in again to that bank account and say, you know what, I've got it.
yeah,
There might be a bit of fog in my brain, but change some words that I use for my self talk and then move forward. Let's do
yeah,
something about it and take action. And that's really what it's about. It's actually making movement and taking action towards that one thing. And
yeah,
you just might put the ball down the hill one more little bit, could be a
yeah.
centimetre, but at least you're doing something.
So help me to understand this more, Katie. When you say we've got brain fog and the sound of our name and
Yeah,
our amorous partners, what does this
yes.
mean?
So,
Those are things we can hear.
well,
Is that what you're suggesting?
yeah, so you're feeling overwhelmed. If you think about how you feel when you're overwhelmed, and for me, when I feel overwhelmed, I just sort of tend to start shutting down,
Yeah.
and I go, I can't do it. I can't do anything. I can't think. I can't do anything. But through that fog, there are four things that always come through.
Oh,
That's the sound of your name. That's any threat to your safety, the fight or flight thing.
yeah.
If your partner wants a bit of bit of action.
So you at least
And
hear it. You may not say yes, but you at least hear it.
exactly, it'll come through the fog. And then whatever your brain tells you, and that's where you train your brain to tell you what is important.
Yeah,
And so if you're feeling overwhelmed, actually, I'm not overwhelmed. I can do this, this, and this.
yeah, yeah,
And then that gets that ball rolling down the hill, just that small step,
yeah,
and it does that. So yeah, that's
yeah.
a bit of science too. Yeah.
Okay. I'm seeing some new benefits from working from home. You can just kind of go and get a cuddle, feel a bit better, get rid of the fog.
Yes,
I
exactly.
can't believe what we're learning today. This is really interesting.
This is a
See,
workplace
Maddie.
podcast after all.
Yes, exactly. And it's all
Uh,
about, and really, it's all about helping you switch your mood from being a bit blah
yeah,
to, you know what, I've got this.
yeah,
I've got
yeah,
this, and I feel confident in myself to make that extra step to push that ball down the road, and
yeah,
that'll make me feel better because I know that I've achieved something then.
yeah,
And then it has that self perpetuating
yeah.
influence. Yeah.
So, some of what we've said so far is we can build resilience over time. And that's obviously about training our brain, mastering those voices in our heads, identifying what do those voices typically tell me. You spoke before about the imposter, getting a bit of control over their imposter and putting it in its place when it's necessary. It's also about managing our spirit, making sure that on an ongoing basis, we're managing energy, I guess, to sum that up. And then what we're talking about now is what are some of the things we can do when we're not feeling particularly resilient. And again, what I'm hearing you say is a big part of that is choose your thinking. What are you focused on right now? And are those voices telling you that this is all too much and I can't do it? Break away. Choose to focus on something, for example, that you enjoy. It could be that you go for a quick walk. It could be that you connect with that loved one and have a conversation. So, Katie, what do you think if our team or somebody in our team is really struggling with their resilience? How do you handle that as a leader? What can you do to help them, do you think?
I think there's a couple of ways, and I think you touched on it really well just then, Karen, is that it is around changing, helping that person change their way of thinking, and really saying to that imposter on your on the shoulder, saying, you know what, you don't have a place today.
Yeah,
Just, and changing, and to help change that behavior, try and help them flip their thinking in order to challenge themselves. And it could be about changing your words to change your mindset.
yeah,
And one of the things that I have found that's been really useful is using the word yet. I can't do that yet,
yeah,
or I don't know what that means, or I don't know that yet.
yeah.
I can't learn that yet.
Well, that's keeping hopefulness alive, isn't it? It's that
Yes.
there is ultimately a way through whatever that particular barrier is. I may not know what that solution is yet, but it's possible.
Mhm. And taking the word can't out of your vocab and putting can.
Yeah,
I can't do that today. I
yeah,
can do it today, but maybe tomorrow is better
yeah, yeah.
if you're feeling overwhelmed. So I think those are some of the things that you can help your team members do that, and to flip their thinking, and to stop over planning and procrastinating, because over planning really is another way of saying, you're just putting it off.
Mm, mm.
So how to help them put small actions in place, those bite the chunk of the elephant, so to speak. Don't
Poor
take all the elephant at
elephants.
once.
Why do we keep
Eh,
eating elephants?
sorry, well, we can eat the frog.
Probably a few more people on the planet that do that.
Yes, but you can take that chunk and say, I will do this piece of the puzzle today. That means I can do it, and I'm moving towards achieving. I don't need the word yet
Yeah,
in a week's time, or that, because I have achieved it. And I
yeah,
think that's providing them with helping them provide them with a path to
yeah,
be able to get through that fog and that
yeah,
overwhelm.
Yeah. And I guess what's coming to my mind here is that, in order for us to have this influence on someone's resilience, we really need to know them. We hear this a lot in leadership, that you've got to know your people, you've got to have strong relationships with them. And this is one of the reasons why. Unless we've actually put on the coach's hat and we've spent time with our people understanding how do they think, what are some of the thought habits or mind habits that they entertain, particularly when it's stressful times or challenging times. How do people respond to change? What are some of the fears that typically will come up in them and cause them to feel certain emotions? Without that understanding, it's very difficult to then be able to influence. So I think, engaging in those regular, honest conversations around how you're feeling, what is working well from your perspective right now, what are some of the frustrations, what are some of the things that are standing in your way, and inspiring people to be on an ongoing journey of self-mastery, that
Mm,
it is okay to have down times. It's okay to feel overwhelmed at times, but reinforcing that the people ultimately have choice around their thoughts and emotions and behaviors, and choice in terms of the reality that ultimately they manifest. And then I think also, if we can be empathetic. So you imagine somebody in the workplace is not feeling particularly resilient today, and therefore they're focusing on everything that's wrong, and they're, stuck in that headspace. Simply saying to them, "Oh, suck it up, she'll be right. You can do it. Come on, mate." Slapping them on the back is not going to get them there. We need to, I think, honestly
mm,
acknowledge people's concerns and fears, and then encourage them to focus on what choices can they make.
mm.
What choices can they make around their priorities or their thoughts, or what things are within their control ultimately. Mm,
And to start seeing the results, the fruits of their labor, and
yeah,
when they do change that behavior. It's not so much about the recognition piece, it's about the acknowledgement piece.
yeah,
And it's acknowledgement that, you know what, I've got your back.
yeah,
If you want to try this out, great, because I've got it.
yeah,
And you can't do it yet, but by the end of
yeah,
the week, you will be able to do it,
yeah,
or whatever the case may be. But
yeah,
it's about understanding what works for them,
yeah,
and as you said, it's around that self-mastery piece and leadership,
yeah,
knowing your team,
yeah,
getting
yeah,
to understand and really acknowledge how they're different, what makes them work, and what makes that team work with the compilation of those people in it.
yeah. Absolutely. And it all comes down to, again, that influence we can have through that relationship. I can think of endless examples where I've had stronger belief in someone than they've had in themselves. And, I've been able to inspire them to step forward because I believe they can. And one of my favorite pastimes is telling people, "I told you so. I told you you were awesome." you know, and the pride that they feel when they were fearful, or they were feeling really overwhelmed or drained or whatever it is. And then ultimately they do get there. Because as you just pointed out, helping them to actually see the successes, helping them to smell the roses that they have actually nurtured and grown, is an important part of giving people that evidence, so that the next time they're feeling overwhelmed or feeling, a lack of confidence, whatever it is, again, they're able, that's part of that toolkit that you were talking about earlier. It's that foundation of belief that's been built through past experience, which has resulted in evidence of their capacity, to find the way through.
Mm,
Um, it's an essential part of that ongoing relationship that we need to have with every member of our team. There's no doubt.
mm,
Excellent. So I just wanted to ask you one last question, Katie. So, talk
sure.
to us about, you've mentioned in the past to me, Mel Robbins' 5-second rule. Do you want to share that?
Yeah, look, I love a bit of Mel Robbins.
Okay.
And it's a really about the there's the high five and then the 5 second rule. So if we look at the 5 second rule, it's really thinking about your actions in 5 second windows and building that confidence to achieve those things within that window. So there are days when we don't want to get out from underneath the doona, and we all have those days. But you can either say, you know what, it's once again changing that mindset or changing that language you're using with yourself, is saying, you know what, I can sit here and be miserable and feel a bit sorry for myself, and we all have those days. Or when the snooze button when the alarm goes off, don't hit the snooze button and roll over and go, oh, it's too cozy, my electric blanket's on the tray. You know, count 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and get out of bed and start moving.
Yeah.
And then when you're out of bed, don't overthink things. Just write down the one thing that you want to achieve that day. It could be that bite, that 1 centimeter down the road, and then that will activate you breaking that habit, and will activate your brain to help you move forward. And it has an ever perpetuating motion, like an upward spiral,
Yeah.
and it'll make you feel better and better and better.
Yeah.
And if it sounds silly, but if you do it, and I've actually tried it, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Right, I'm going to go and do something that I've been
Yeah.
putting off.
Yeah.
Lift off.
Yes, exactly. And
Yeah.
then, okay, and you feel better about it because you got it out of the way.
And it's a little
Yeah.
success.
Yeah, and it's like,
You can be proud
yay,
of
the
yourself in
next
that
step.
moment. Love it.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And it's not. It's about tuning your skills and experience into action. It doesn't cost you anything,
Yeah.
and it sounds really silly, but give it a go for 2 weeks or even a
Yeah.
week and see how you feel
Yeah.
after that,
Yeah.
and then you can come back to me and say, "You're speaking a bunch of BS, Katie," or, "It's fantastic. It works for me."
Yeah. Love it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
All right, so I think it's time to move on to our next segment, which is Mojo in the Dojo.
Mojo. The libido, the life force, the essence, the right stuff. What the French call a certain, I don't know what.
And in this segment, we talk all about energy and confidence and influence. So, Karen, what do you have for us today?
So, today we're talking about maintaining your mojo when you wake up and have no resilience. You just don't have it in you, as we were just saying, Katie. Because, and the reason I wanted to talk about this one is I do think that whole decision to get out of bed can be a tough one. And I often talk about this or write about this when it comes to the sickie in the workplace. Clearly, sometimes we are actually sick, and the right decision to make is to stay in bed to help us to recover. Sometimes, though, it is that comfort zone that I'm in, or things just feel a bit blur and a bit hard. And it's in those moments, it's like, well, what choice are you going to actually make? And I know for myself, just making that choice to just get up, and the thing it reminds me of as well is sometimes when I'm starting to tell myself that I've all got all these great reasons not to go to the gym tonight. And what I've started to do is, as soon as that thought process starts, I go and get changed for the gym. So even if I've got, a couple more hours of work to do at my desk, I don't typically do this when I've got a client meeting coming up. But, if I've just got some work at my desk time to go before I'm heading to the gym, I'll go and get changed, because it's that next layer of obstacle to get undressed for the gym and get into my pajamas, an alternative decision. Just, I've got too much self-pride for that.
Yeah, you're like, I'm already dressed, so I may as well just go.
Yeah, it would be ridiculous to go, no, I'm not going, I'm getting undressed again.
Well, that's where your 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 comes in, and
Yeah,
you get out of bed and you make that first step towards whatever it is. And so, Karen,
absolutely.
you put on your gym gear. The next step is, oh, I've got a personal training session at
Yeah,
whatever time. I've already paid for it,
yeah,
so I'm going to have to go. Otherwise, I'm going to lose my money.
yeah,
It's a waste of money, waste of effort and energy.
Yeah.
yeah,
So I have to go.
yeah. And I think, so it's that maintaining that commitment, or putting those commitments in place. But then also, when it is hard to get out of bed, okay, we've done our 5-second rule and we're up. And then maybe the next thought that came to my mind is, it's about identifying, what can I look forward to today? What is there about? And it doesn't have to be 10 things. It could just be one thing. Okay, I just want to get that done. Or I just want to, whatever it is, enjoy the benefits of something. And again, I know I've had days like that myself where, again, it's been hard to get into my mojo. It's been hard to get into that flow. So I've focused on, for example, okay, well, today, if nothing else, I'm going to make those 2 phone calls. If nothing else, I'm going to progress that particular learning module that I'm working on. I had a day recently where I felt like I achieved 0. So it came to the end of the day and I went, well, if nothing else, I'm going to go and train hard. When I get to the gym, I'm going to make it a great session. I'm going to really invest in that so that when I'm getting back into bed, I actually feel that sense of achievement.
Mhm. I
Mm.
think, and there's another 5 rule thing from Mel Robbins called the high five, and this is even cornier than the
Okay.
countdown, right?
Thanks for the warning.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
excited.
But once again, I've done it for 2 weeks,
Mm.
and I've tested the theory out, Karen. And it's what it is when you feel as though you're having those things, you do the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and get up,
Yeah.
and you draw a line in the sand by saying, "I'm okay, I'm safe, and I'm loved." And then you're brushing your teeth. When you first get up, and you do a high five to yourself in the mirror. That's what I'm saying. It's corny, right? High five. And be your own cheer squad.
Yeah.
No one needs to know. You don't need to do it out loud, but
Yeah.
be your own cheer squad and act. And then it gives you think about a high five and what it actually means, and why we do people's high five in the team sporting arena. And it's like, you've got it.
Yeah.
I believe in yourself. Great work. I can do this,
Yeah.
And so act like the person you want to become in that mirror when you're high fiving,
Yeah.
and stop feeling guilty and change your mindset again by feeling appreciative, right?
Yeah.
And say, you know what? I'm thankful. This is what I have achieved so far today or yesterday. Now keep the ball rolling. Let's see what we can achieve today.
And
Give
you know
yourself a
what's
high five and a sense of motivation. It's
and
corny, I know.
but what's coming to my mind is that it's so powerful, the capacity we have to actually fool ourselves, to actually choose our mood, to go, I have got this, I'm high-fiving myself in the mirror, I'm choosing my attitude. Like, we do actually have the capacity to do that. And it reminds me, I was watching this incredibly silly show the other night called Space Force. I don't know if you guys have seen it. It is
No.
out there silly. Anyway, so one of the main characters is feeling really stressed and tense, and he's got all these people waiting to see him, and he walks through his office area and he's like, I just need a couple of minutes, and he goes into his office and he closes the door, and next thing he's doing this full-on dance, right? So I wish I could remember what song was playing, but I think the song was just in his head, right? And he was getting right into it. And the thought I was having in that moment was, I could see that working for me. I could see that if I was just feeling blah, and I just don't have energy, or I'm grumpy, or I'm wallowing in emotions that are unhelpful. Because I music resonates with me. It does absolutely energize my spirit and help me to shift my mindset. So we used to, when we were working in an office, it was not that unusual for us to get a song, especially if everyone was feeling flat, and just have dance around the office time, and again, corny, silly,
But it works.
it does.
It
It does
does.
kind of shift you into that other
Yeah.
space.
Bit of Taylor Swift, Shake It Off, and you'll be right, I reckon.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess it's like how people do the Superman pose or whatever when they need to feel confident. It's like everyone has
Yeah,
their little things that they do. I guess the high
yeah,
five will be one that we'll just have to try.
yeah,
Find your inner super
yeah. Character, whoever that is.
icon,
Yeah,
or whatever you want to call it. And
yeah,
that really helps you start thinking that you care more about what you think about yourself than what others
yeah,
do. And that gives
yeah.
you a bit more confidence to move that next step forward as well.
I think I'm going
Yeah.
to be Captain Marvel. I think that's my
Yeah.
my choice. Like,
She's cool.
whoa, he's a kick-ass woman.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Yeah, she
Yeah,
is pretty
I think that's
awesome.
my number one
She is
choice. Who are
awesome.
you going to be, Mads? Who's your superhero?
I don't know. I probably would have said her, but that's fine.
You can be her too. We
That's all
can
right. Maybe I'll be Spider-Man.
do love a bit of Spider-Man.
Katie?
Oh, look, I think it might be Catwoman.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Yeah.
You know,
Rise to the
I'd
class.
love to have the body to be nimble and quick like that, but unfortunately, I'm trying to change it. But
Yeah.
it's a work in progress. It's not yet.
Yeah. I think
Not
sometimes
yet.
also I need to choose to be Hermione Granger as the other one coming into my
Yeah.
mind, She's got a healthy dose of courage. She's got the answers. She does her research, does her
Yeah.
homework. Anywho,
Yeah,
moving us
what's
right
not to
along,
love?
Mads. We're
All right.
distracted.
Okay, good chat. So I reckon now it's time to move on to our last segment of the day, which is WTF at work.
Say what?
So WTF at work is where we unpack crazy workplace stories. And today, Katie, we've got a good one. I've actually sent this to Karen a few weeks ago. It was a TikTok. And I was like, I just need to get this on the podcast because it's just so funny. So basically, it's this guy and he just posts a screenshot of an email and then it's his face, like looking sad in the corner. And then he's written, yeah, breakups hurt and stuff, but have you ever been CC'd on HR's emails about why they didn't want to hire you? So basically,
Oh,
this guy was CC'd on the email chain of why he was rejected from his job. So that's really fun.
Oh, this is reminding me of that one where this woman rang a candidate, left a voicemail message, and didn't realize that she
Oh,
hadn't hung up. And
no.
then her and her colleague just had this really bitchy conversation about this candidate, how she looked, how
Stop.
she dressed, like just
That is.
Katie's just cringing for those listening.
I
You
know.
should see
I
the look
just
on her face.
She's, she's lost for words. Oh, yeah, I don't know how this guy's going to have much resilience after he sees an email basically bagging him. Like, it's not ideal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh no, that's not good. That's not good at all.
I
Yeah,
do
I'm not
think
sure how you come back from that one. I
No.
think there's a lot of, and it's not necessarily of his doing. You know what I
no.
mean? Like he did not write the email, or yes, he might have got CC'd on it, but he actually didn't have any action involved in this apart from not getting the job.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so awkward. And, like, obviously on the TikTok, you can't really see much because his head's covering it, I'm sure on purpose because it probably has his name. But it's just, you just see the email from the HR person. It just says, well, that's interesting. Okay, let's reject him. ...
Oh, I've been calling
Brutal.
up and saying, now tell me what was
Yeah,
interesting.
what's so interesting?
Yeah. Exactly. And look, this
Oh,
is precisely why most HR people have a healthy dose of paranoia. Like I quadruple check whenever I send an email. I have once myself, a client blind copied me in on an email, and one of his team members was called Karen. And so because it said, hi, Karen, blah, 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 I thought he was talking to me. So I literally just responded, but I was blind copied. And herein lies another
Oh,
reason why you don't blind copy people, because people
oh,
like me, I
you
was,
just blew his cover. Like,
yeah, you
thankfully
did, Karen.
Karen and I had a really good relationship. So she just hearty laughed. She thought it was the funniest thing ever. But
Oh,
yeah, it
oh,
wasn't good. So apart from that, I don't think I've ever let a candidate. Yeah, that's just awful.
no, that's not. It's not. It's not the way that it should really go, is it? And yes, we all make mistakes.
imagine the
However,
stress though of the person that sent it. You'd be like, "Oh my god, did I just do that?" And you just like, you can't take it back. It's out there, and now it's on TikTok. It's like, oh,
I'd be
disaster.
Yeah,
crawling into a hole. I would be crawling into a hole and finding out how best I can apologize and
Oh,
how I can fix it. There's actually
yeah,
nothing you can do to fix it. It's out there.
that's
yeah.
It's
so bad.
done and it's dusted. You know,
But
you
have the
can't.
decency, make the call as you
Mm,
say, give some real reasons. The way that was communicated was really insensitive and clearly tardy on our part. But wanted to both apologise, but also to give you some more specific feedback as to why we didn't see you as being the suitable candidate. At least have the courage, as you say, Katie, to own that mistake. If you're the individual on the receiving end, then try and keep it in perspective. I mean, recruitment processes are complex in the sense that you don't know who you are as a candidate relative to other candidates. You don't, have insight to the recruiter's mind and their own filters and what they perceived of you through the process.
Yeah,
And this is way easier said than done, but work hard to not let it undermine your own confidence. Recognize it for the the thoughtless error that it was.
I guess at
and
least after that, you wouldn't want to have the job anyway. So it's probably helps
Especially if
that.
they were mean. Absolutely
Yeah.
not.
You're like,
Again, golden rule,
blessing.
HR 101, double check who you're sending to. And B, never, ever put anything in writing that you don't want to be exposed. Like, just always have the front of the newspaper rule in your mind. You know, if this email was printed
exactly.
out or, on sent or disclosed for whatever reason, would you be comfortable to stand behind the words that you've used? And the attitude that you've expressed. And if your emails lack kindness or lack common decency, then something like this happens. Well, you get what you deserve, you know?
And the other thing is, as we generally know in the world of HR and leadership, is what comes around goes around.
Oh,
So,
yeah,
the next thing is, it will probably at some point, how would you feel if you were on the receiving end of that? And how
exactly.
would you respond, and how would you feel, and what would it do to your confidence and esteem?
Yeah,
And you'd be pretty shattered, I would
yeah,
think.
yeah. Be immaculate with your words, be
Yes.
impeccable with your words. Some great author wrote once, suddenly can't remember who said that, but someone said it, that our
Probably
words
you,
have.
Karen.
I don't think it was, but thank you, Katie, for
She's
your
like, who
confidence.
said that, guys?
It's like,
But our words are powerful. Our words reverberate. They impact ourselves. They impact. Right back to what we were talking about earlier. The words that we're talking to ourselves internally, the words we say out loud. I can't, or I won't, or those words do have energy behind them. They do have power to then influence our reality. So, yeah, let's just be deliberate with putting good words out there into our reality, including those of our
absolutely.
dearly beloved candidates.
Indeed, because you never know
Oh,
when you'll be the
absolutely.
candidate. So
Exactly.
Absolutely.
it has a circle and a cycle,
Mm,
that's for sure. Mm.
Definitely.
absolutely. Well, fabulous as always, Katie. Really appreciate you joining us. So, how can everyone find out about you and the work that you do?
Oh, there's a couple of thanks, Karen, and I love coming along and having great conversations like this with you and Maddie, because
Thank
it's
you.
just insightful, and we have a bit, and we have a lovely time as well. It's fun.
Thank you.
I can be found on my website or LinkedIn on katiepatterson.com.au, and we are exploring some online training programs at the moment. So
Fabulous.
watch this space.
Fabulous.
Yes, I'm really
Excellent.
excited.
Well, thank you yet again. Really appreciate you being here. So, to our listeners, if there are topics you would like us to explore, please get in touch via our website at corporatedojo.com or, of course, any of our social media channels.
Thanks, Karen. Thanks, Katie, for joining us again.
You're welcome.
Thanks, everyone, for listening. We'll see you next time. And don't forget to work savvy.